Philip to Evelyn, Thursday, April 29th, 1943, 5 p.m. My own baby, received your most welcome daily letter this morning. The news that the moths had a field day at the expense of my trousers bothers me not at all. It pales into insignificance beside the import of the item that our precious Adele had a sound night's sleep, or the fact that Jack procured an allotment for Mom. I was planning to ask in today's letter whether your mother was still planning to buy 4920, but your letter today answered that particular question. I too hope that it is the beginning of better days for your family. I still miss any mention of what you are wearing these days. What must I do to persuade you to oblige me in this respect, Chippy? I finally managed to get that letter off to Mom this morning. Well, Chippy, it turns out I've been rather fortunate that I was permitted to stay behind. Some of the fellows came into camp this morning to pick up a few odds and ends, and they say that, so far, they have spent 2 miserable nights on bivouac. It seems the camp used to be one of those occupied by the CCC. The barracks are nothing more than chicken coops, and the boys don't exactly relish the idea of sleeping on bare canvas cots. Although they went to sleep in their overcoats and had 2 blankets and a comforter apiece, they were most uncomfortably cold nevertheless. Hope the weather warms up a bit before I get there. One thing they all agree on, however, that the country round about is beautiful. The campsite, unfortunately, is miles from every place, and the poor guys don't have a thing to do with themselves in the evening. After a month of this, if the CO has any sense, he better give the gang leave or he's bound to have trouble, and plenty of it. Just when I think there isn't a solitary thing for me to do around here, things start popping. The first thing I did this morning was to get Mom's letter off. After that, I didn't have a free moment all day. The lieutenant inspected my records this morning and said they were in good shape. Hell, they ought to be, after I've worked 3 full months on them. It just struck me, Adele is 5 months old today. Bless her little heart. I wish, like everything, I could see her right now. Page 2. Under the present circumstances, however, the best I can do in the way of filial congratulations is to tell you, my sweet, to kiss her for me, and how I envy her. I'm still waiting to hear from Jack N., Lil, Dottie, and where is Myra's address? I suggest you keep my letters handy when you write, since some of the things I want to know don't seem to register. It's a good idea in any case. I always practice it. They say exercise is supposed to give one an appetite, but I haven't been able to eat supper ever since we started these damned calisthenics. My appetite at lunchtime is good, and I usually eat plenty, but I can't bear the thought of food at supper time. Then about 9 o'clock, when it's too late to do anything about it, I can't afford to eat at the PX every day. I find I'm famished. A very sad state of affairs indeed, but then tell me, if you can, anything about the Army that isn't sad. I dare you. Right now, the Minneapolis Symphony is playing the pulse-quickening Strauss waltzes. Alas, it only inspires a hopeless longing in me and turns my heart to jelly. Small comfort. You're lucky in one respect, baby. When your heart is breaking and frustration is a solid wall, you have the comfort of tears. I, being a soldier, am not permitted the luxury of tears, although there have been times when I had all I could do to restrain them. When this ugly dream of war is all over, dearest, and I return to you, you'd better wear one of your more waterproof aprons, because I'm going to unleash a flood of tears that has been accumulating for 2 years now. It's going to be such a relief to rid myself of all the pent-up anguish on your sweet bosom. I have so much to look forward to. Do you think I'm silly to aspire to so dubious a luxury, sweetheart? Whether you think so or not, that's what I feel, and I'd be willing to bet plenty that I'm not the only soldier who feels this way. For the present, however, my darling, take the best care you can of yourself and our daughter, so that when that happy day when the world will once more know the glory of peace does arrive, we will all be fit to enjoy the benefits of being allowed to live as we please. What price peace if my dear ones wear themselves to a shadow, waiting and worrying about it? Remember this, my dear, and guide yourself accordingly. I love you very, very much and treasure your love above all things on earth. My love to all, ever your Phil. Evelyn to Phil, April 30th, 1943, 7 p.m. Dearest Phil, your Wednesday letter arrived, and so did Mom's, which was written Thursday. They both hit the heart. Mom was well pleased, and so was yours truly. I'm so dead this evening that I barely have strength to write. That's how I felt all week. I have to be in bed by 9 or I'm a dead pigeon the following day. It rained the greater part of the day, and now the humidity is very high. I'm going to take a shower and get right into bed. What a week. Woof. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad to hear about that notice on leaves and passes. I only hope all will be smooth so that you may take advantage of them. Your typing does deserve orchids, considering how you picked it up. Keep up the good work, sweetheart, and I'll be prouder than ever. I hope you have received Adele's pictures. I sent them Wednesday, addressed to 1807. My mom was sick all day with one of those splitting headaches. I house cleaned and our closet and bedroom, thoroughly washed, dusted, swept, and cleaned the living room and dining room. I did so many things that it would take the whole night for me to enumerate them. Plus, page 2, taking care of my mom. The house looks very, very nice, and how I wish you could see it. Adele has been fine and a little angel all week. I'm teaching her to hold a bottle, and she does it for a few seconds with small bottle. Ben wasn't sent overseas. Ethel thought he was. He was on maneuvers, and while he joked about it in his letter, you could fully understand the misery suffered by his outfit to the fullest extent. I sincerely hope Red's girlfriend sees, quote, Red, unquote, if you know what I mean. Well, baby mine, the Sandman is calling, so I'm going off to dreamland and you. I love you, my precious Phil. Your Ev. P.S. Do you think you'll get your T5 soon? I wish you would. You certainly deserve it, and furthermore, we need the money. Did I say I love you? Well, what of it? I love you, I adore you. Sigh. Philip to Evelyn, Friday, April 30th, 1943, 2:05 p.m. Ev, dearest, just received your swell Wednesday letter with the pictures. I disagree with you. The pictures of Adele are all good, but I will agree that you look terrible. You look like you hadn't slept for months. I hate to see you looking so strained, baby, and I hope you are feeling and looking better now. The cherub looks much bigger and plumper than when I last saw her, but she is sweet nevertheless. I felt like taking a bite out of her round, chubby legs. They look so tempting. It was a real treat to see my chippies again. The letter itself was gratifyingly lengthy, and I'm glad you finally got around to telling me what you are wearing, etc. Sorry to hear that Mrs. Levy is doing so poorly. That explains why Lil hasn't answered my letter. Sorry, too, to learn that Mrs. Fromer is confined to her bed. I will try to find time to drop her a line. The truth is, I've been neglecting my work today in order to write to Sid, Ruthie, and Myra. If I get the chance this afternoon, I'll write to Mrs. Fromer. The news that your mother is starting to do things about purchasing 4920 is welcome indeed, but this idea of hers to purchase our rugs so that we can get new ones, while it is the soul of generosity on her part, strikes me as being unfair to herself and her own family. Surely they are entitled to and deserving of new rugs even more so than we are, since they have had to put up with shabby ones for so long now, and we were fortunate enough to have the pleasure just a little more than a year ago. On the whole, I'd feel funny about accepting such a proposition. You may thank your mother for the kind offer and tell her from me that I appreciate her willingness to sacrifice so much for us, but that I don't think she is being entirely fair in the matter to your dad and the kids. I'm sure they appreciate new things just as much as we, and have infinitely more right to them. I asked Ruthie in today's letter to ask your mother to write what she plans to have done to the house, but if she doesn't find the time, I wish you would tell me, sweet. Things are really starting to come to a boil around here. I learned today that most of the remaining outfits of the group will be moving out very soon. The lieutenants are all convinced that we are destined for overseas duty in the near future. Page 2. About 2 months of heavy training for all of us, and then over. So start bracing yourself for the inevitable, baby. And above all, remember that I'm counting on you to be a good soldier now and always. I'm sure you want me to be proud of you, as I want and expect you to be proud of me. Keep my ideals and principles, you should know them well by now, always in mind, and conduct yourself accordingly. If you love me, you won't let me down. When my departure is imminent, or possibly before that, I will provide you with a code so that you will know where I am stationed. If I see fit to send some superfluous articles of clothing home, don't become alarmed. As a matter of fact, don't be alarmed by anything that is apt to happen from now on. Try your best to keep a brave front, even if you are not feeling brave inside. No one has to know what you are feeling. Forgive me if I seem to harp on this, but it is imperative that you respect my wishes in this matter to the utmost of your ability. Also, do not tell anyone, not even Mom, what is in the wind. I know it is a large order, but for all our sakes, you must fill it. Remember, I'm depending on you, my sweet. Now I must fall out for calisthenics, so you'll forgive me if I seem to cut this short. I am your adoring husband, Phil. A letter from Phil to Mrs. Fromer, the next door neighbor to my mother and her family. Friday, April 30th, 1943, 5:25 p.m. Dear Mrs. Fromer, Evelyn wrote that the doctor advised a little stay in bed for you, so I thought it would be a good idea to drop you a few lines while you are resting and have plenty of time to read what I have to say. I sincerely hope this finds you completely recovered and downstairs again. Bed is a good place to be for a few days, but after that it gets monotonous and tiresome, especially when the weather is nice, and Evelyn says that you have been enjoying nice spring weather for the greater part of the last 2 weeks. So if you're not already downstairs, it's high time you were. Besides, if you stay abed too long, people will think you are lazy, and I know you wouldn't want them to think that. Also contained in Evelyn's letter were some pictures of the baby and herself. Yes, that's right. I mean Adele Barra, my daughter. At least they tell me she's my daughter, although I find it hard to believe that such a pretty little kid could possibly be mine. Of course, I realize that her mommy is kind of cute, but just between you and me, I was the one who ordered her from the doctor. Evelyn just carried her home for me. So you can see that Evelyn had very little actually to do with it all, and that's why I doubt that Adele inherits her good looks from her mommy. False modesty is not one of my faults. So when I say she certainly doesn't take after her old man, I'm not being a bit backward about it. Who then, if not her mommy and not her daddy, does Adele Barra, and I know there's no denying that she is pretty, owe her good looks to? It's a puzzle, isn't it? I guess we'll just have to be patient and wait until Adele learns to talk so she can tell us herself. Nobody has taken the trouble to tell me how Marvin and Flora are getting along. But if I know anything about how a newly married soldier and his bride feel, and I think I know, then I would say they are getting along swell. I won't mess up this letter by telling you what I am doing these days. Most likely Evelyn keeps you informed anyhow. But before I sign off, I do, page 2, want to thank you for being such good company for my mom and for being so nice to Evelyn. I want you to know that I appreciate all your kindnesses. Take good care of yourself, Mrs. Fromer, so that you can continue to make life sweet for your devoted husband and your family, and those fortunate people who are proud to call you friend. My love to Mr. Fromer, Mr. and Mrs. Glassman, and Marvin and Flora. You might also, if it's not asking too much, give my love to my mom and my family, and say hello to Mrs. Cooperstein for me. God bless you all. Yours affectionately, Phil. The guy next door, as if you didn't know.